This script covers essential laws, regulations, and safety procedures for non-commercial drivers in the state of Texas. Let's get started. What does a flashing red traffic light mean? Stop, then proceed when safe. It is treated identically to a stop sign, requiring a full stop before cautiously continuing. Ready for the next one. What is the maximum speed limit in a Texas urban district unless otherwise posted? 30 miles per hour. This is the standard statutory speed limit in cities unless a sign indicates otherwise. Time for a new question. What is the legal blood alcohol concentration BAC limit for drivers over 21 in Texas? 0.08%. This is the legal threshold for intoxication for adult drivers. Moving along now. When must you use your low beam headlights? From 30 minutes after sunset to 30 minutes before sunrise, or when visibility is less than 1,000 feet. State law mandates the use of headlights during these times to ensure visibility. Let's see this one. What is the minimum safe following distance you should maintain under ideal conditions? A 3-second distance. The standard gap gives you adequate time to react to the vehicle ahead. Next question up. How far before a turn should you activate your turn signal in Texas? At least 100 feet. Signaling early allows other drivers time to adjust to your intended maneuver. Take a moment for this one. What should you do when approaching a school bus with flashing red lights and an extended stop arm? Stop from either direction unless on a divided highway with a median. This law protects children crossing the street to board or exit the bus. On to the next topic. What is the Texas implied consent law? By driving, you agree to a chemical test if arrested for WI. This means you automatically consent to a sobriety test simply by having a license and driving on Texas roads. Moving ahead. What does a solid yellow line on your side of the center stripe mean? You are not permitted to pass Groff. The solid line indicates that it is unsafe to cross due to opposing traffic or reduced visibility. Here's another one. What does a broken white line separating traffic lanes mean? Lane changes are permitted as traffic is moving in the same direction. The broken line allows for legal and safe lane changes, provided the driver signals and checks conditions. Ready for the next one. What action should you take if your vehicle begins to skid? Steer in the direction you want the front of the car to go. This allows the wheels to regain traction and corrects the direction of the skid. Time for a new question. How far must you park from a fire hydrant? At least 15 feet. Parking too close could block emergency access for firefighting personnel. Moving along now. When driving at night, you must dim your headlights when you are within how many feet of an oncoming vehicle? 500 feet. This prevents blinding the driver of the oncoming vehicle. Let's see this one. If two drivers arrive at a four-way stop intersection at the same time, who has the right-of-way? The driver on the right. This is a standard right-of-way rule to break ties at uncontrolled intersections. Next question up. What does a diamond-shaped traffic sign indicate? Warning or caution of an upcoming road hazard. Diamond shapes are universally used to alert drivers to potential dangers like curves, hills, or construction. Take a moment for this one. What should you do at a flashing yellow traffic light? Slow down and proceed with caution. The light warns of an intersection or hazard and tells drivers to remain alert, but not necessarily stop. On to the next topic. What is the penalty for a first conviction of DWI in Texas? Up to a $2,000 fine and 72 hours to 6 months in jail. Texas imposes serious financial penalties and jail time for initial DWI convictions. Moving ahead. What is the minimum safe passing distance a vehicle must give a cyclist? Never less than 3 feet. Texas law requires a minimum 3-foot gap when passing a bicycle to ensure the cyclist's safety. Here's another one. What is the maximum speed limit in an urban alley? 15 miles per hour. Alleys are narrow and often have poor visibility, necessitating a very slow speed limit. Ready for the next one. What should you do if your right wheels run off the pavement? Steer straight, slow down, and then gradually return to the pavement. Slowing down before steering back prevents overcorrection and potential loss of control. Time for a new question. What should you do if you are being followed too closely, tailgated? Increase your following distance to the vehicle ahead. This gives you a larger cushion and more time to brake slowly, which protects you from being hit from behind. Moving along now, what does a solid red arrow displayed on a traffic signal mean? You must stop and cannot turn in the direction of the arrow. The red arrow is a definite stop signal for that specific turn movement. Let's see this one. What is the minimum financial responsibility requirement for liability insurance coverage in Texas? 30, 60, 25. This indicates 30,000 for injury per person, 60,000 for injury per accident, and 25,000 for property damage. Next question up. When are you allowed to cross over a double solid yellow line? To turn left into a private drive or alley, state law makes an exception for crossing double solid lines only for turns into private property. Take a moment for this one. What is the minimum age to obtain an unrestricted Texas Class C driver's license? 18 years old or 16 with completion of the graduated license program. Drivers under 18 must complete the GDL program, while those 18 and older can get the unrestricted license immediately. On to the next topic. What is the legal BAC limit for commercial drivers in Texas? 0.04%. The federal standard for commercial drivers is stricter than the non-commercial limit. Moving ahead. What is the hand signal for a right turn? Left arm extended upward at a 90-degree angle. This universal signal indicates the driver is turning right. Here's another one. When backing a passenger vehicle, where should you look primarily? Over your right shoulder through the rear window. This provides the widest and most direct view of the path behind the vehicle. Ready for the next one. If you are involved in a crash, the law requires you to exchange driver license information with whom? Others involved in the collision. This is required by law to file accident reports and insurance claims. Time for a new question. What is the consequence for a minor under 21 who refuses a chemical test for alcohol? Automatic license suspension for not less than 60 days. Texas has zero tolerance for minors, and refusal to test carries an immediate, mandated penalty. Moving along now. What does a triangular red and white sign pointing down indicate? Yield the right of way. The inverted triangle shape is internationally recognized as the sign to yield. Let's see this one. On a divided highway, how should you yield to an emergency vehicle with flashing lights and siren? Pull to the right edge of the road and stop. Gray. This is the safest way to clear the path for the emergency vehicle. Next question up. When driving in heavy fog, what lights should you use? Low beam headlights. Low beams point down, minimizing glare and reflection from the fog, which would be worse with high beams. Take a moment for this one. What must a driver do when entering a roadway from a private driveway or alley? Yield to all approaching traffic and pedestrians. Traffic on the public roadway has the right of way over traffic entering from private property. On to the next topic. What should you do if you miss your freeway exit? Continue to the next exit. It is extremely dangerous and illegal to stop or back up on a freeway to correct a missed exit. Moving ahead. What does a pentagon-shaped sign with two people walking indicate? School zone or school crossing? The pentagon shape is specifically reserved for school-related warning signs. Here's another one. When passing another vehicle, how should you return to your lane? When you can see the passed vehicle in your rearview mirror. Seeing the vehicle allows you to ensure a safe gap exists before completing the passing maneuver. Ready for the next one. What is the minimum fine for not wearing a seatbelt in Texas? Up to 200. Texas has mandatory seatbelt laws for all occupants, and fines are significant. Time for a new question. If you are driving on a numbered state highway outside an urban district at night, what is the maximum speed limit? 65 miles per hour. 65 miles per hour is the general maximum speed for a numbered state highway at night unless otherwise posted. Moving along now, what should you do if your brakes fail? Pump the brake pedal, shift to a lower gear, and use the parking brake cautiously. This sequence attempts to build hydraulic pressure, use engine braking, and use the emergency brake gently. Let's see this one. What does a sign that is yellow, round, and has an X and two R's indicate? Railroad crossing ahead. The round shape is used exclusively for railroad warnings, and the X and RR symbolize the crossing. Next question up. What is the minimum age for a passenger to legally ride in the open bed of a truck in Texas? 18 years old. Texas law restricts minors from riding in the open bed of a truck for safety. Take a moment for this one. When are you required to display a white light on the front of your vehicle? From 30 minutes after sunset to 30 minutes before sunrise. This is the same mandate as the headlight rule, ensuring the vehicle is visible during low light hours. On to the next topic. What is the most common cause of rear-end collisions? Following too closely, tailgating. Insufficient following distance is the primary reason drivers can't stop in time. Moving ahead, if a pedestrian is in a crosswalk in the middle of a block, who has the right of way? The pedestrians always have the right of way in a crosswalk, even if it is not at an intersection. Here's another one. When approaching a stop sign, what is the first thing you must do? Come to a complete stop. The law requires a full cessation of movement before proceeding. Ready for the next one. What should you do if an oncoming vehicle fails to dim its high beams at night? Look toward the right edge of your lane. This technique prevents temporary blindness while still allowing you to maintain lane position. Time for a new question. What type of sign is typically black text on a white rectangle? Regulatory sign. White vertical rectangular signs are used to inform drivers of traffic laws and regulations. Moving along now. What is the maximum fine for a Texas resident who violates the move-over law for emergency vehicles? Up to 200. The move-over law protects first responders and carries a significant financial penalty for non-compliance. Let's see the final question. Under the Texas Graduated Driver's License GDL program, how long must a minor hold an instruction permit? At least 6 months